All right, today we are diving deep into the playbook that really protects a modern company. You know, the one that keeps everything running smoothly and safely behind the scenes? We're talking about the guardians of the digital world: governance, audit, and security. Let's get right into it.
So it really boils down to this one question, right? When basically everything, our businesses, our data, our entire lives run on these super complex IT systems, how do we actually know they're being built and run the right way? Who's making sure everything is on the up and up?
To figure that out, you got to start at the absolute top. I'm talking about the highest strategic level of a company. And that right there is the world of governance. So what exactly is IT governance? Well, think of it like this. It's the city planning for a company's technology. It's not about laying down one brick at a time. Nope. It's about designing the entire blueprint for the city, making sure every single road, building, and power line is actually serving the city's main goals, or in this case, the business's main goals.
Now, this is a super important distinction that a lot of people mix up. Governance and management are not the same thing. Governance is handled by the board, by the executives. It's all about setting the direction. It asks the big questions like, are we doing the right things? Are we even investing in the right tech to begin with? Management, on the other hand, is all about the how. They're the ones executing the plan, asking, are we doing things right? Are we building this stuff efficiently?
The whole point of good governance is to focus on these four big outcomes. Is the IT department actually delivering real value? Are we keeping an eye on the risks? Are we using our people and our tech wisely? And, maybe most importantly, can we prove it? Can we actually measure our performance? See, these aren't just techie questions. They're fundamental business questions. Okay, so it's one thing to have that big, beautiful blueprint, but how do you actually get everyone to build the city according to the plan? That's where frameworks come in, and we're going to look at one of the biggest ones out there, COBIT. COBIT is basically the official rule book, and it's recognized all over the world. It takes those really high-level ideas we just talked about, like delivering value and managing risk, and it breaks them down into real, practical steps that a company can actually follow and, just as important, measure. And honestly, this right here is COBIT's real superpower. It's a universal translator. It creates a shared language so the CEO, who's thinking about profits, can have a real conversation with the head of IT, who's thinking about servers. It totally bridges that communication gap that can cause so many problems. Okay, so we've got the blueprint and we've got the rule book. But how do you know if anyone is actually following the rules? Well, that's when the IT auditor shows up. Think of them as the independent inspector, making sure the building actually matches the blueprint. An IT audit is really the trust but verify department of the digital world. The goal isn't to get people in trouble. It's to give leadership that peace of mind, that independent assurance that all the controls and systems they think they have in place are actually working the way they're supposed to. And this whole process is super structured. It's not random at all. First, the auditors plan out exactly what they're going to look at. Then, they do the field work. That means gathering evidence, testing systems, talking to people. And finally, they report back with their findings and, crucially, their recommendations on how to fix things. So what are these auditors actually looking for? They're looking for controls. And controls really come in three flavors. You've got preventative controls, which are like the locks on your door. They stop bad things from happening in the first place. Then you have detective controls, which are like your security cameras. They help you find out if something bad did happen. And finally, corrective controls are your plan to fix the mess, like restoring your data from a backup. Any healthy system needs all three. Look, even with the best plans and the best controls, things are going to go wrong. It's inevitable. Systems fail, disasters happen. So this next part is all about planning for those digital storms to make sure the business can survive them. Before you can even think about building a lifeboat, you have to figure out what's most important to save, right? And that's exactly what a business impact analysis, or BIA, does. It's how a company systematically figures out which parts of the business are absolutely critical and how fast they need to be back online after everything goes sideways. A key result from that BIA is something called the RTO, or Recovery Time Objective. This is the deadline. Simple as that. For a system that processes payments, that RTO might be just 4 hours. Any longer than that, and you're talking about serious financial damage and losing customer trust. And then there's its partner, the RPO, or Recovery Point Objective. This one is all about data loss. An RPO of 15 minutes means the business has decided it absolutely cannot afford to lose more than 15 minutes of data. And that single number dictates just how often you need to be backing things up.
And that's really the bottom line here. Your entire disaster recovery plan is built on these two numbers. The BIA tells you what's important, and the RTO and RPO that come out of it tell you exactly what kind of technology and budget you need to protect it. So we've covered the big picture strategy, we've talked about verifying the work, and we've gone over disaster planning. Now let's zoom all the way into the front lines, the everyday security measures that are like the walls and the guards of your company's information fortress. At the heart of all information security is this simple but powerful concept, the CIA triad. C is for confidentiality, keeping secrets secret. I is for integrity, making sure your data is accurate and hasn't been messed with. And A is for availability, making sure you can actually get to your information when you need it. Pretty much every security tool out there is designed to help with one of these three goals.
So how do you actually enforce all this? Well, a massive part of the answer is Identity and Access Management, or IAM. You can think of this as the ultimate digital bouncer for the entire organization. It's the system that controls who gets in and what they're allowed to touch once they're inside. The job of IAM really breaks down into what we call the triple A of access control. First, there's authentication, proving you are who you say you are, maybe with a password or your Face ID. Second, authorization. This is what you're actually allowed to do. And third, accounting, which is just a fancy way of saying we log everything you did, which is so important for security. Okay, so let's do a super quick recap. Governance sets the strategy from the top. Management is on the ground executing that strategy. The audit function comes in to provide that independent checkup. Resilience makes sure the business can survive a major hit, and security is the day-to-day work of protecting everything, all guided by that CIA triad.
And that brings us to a final thought to leave you with. You know, we've spent decades building these amazing frameworks for systems built by people. But what happens as AI starts making more and more of the critical decisions? How are we going to audit an algorithm that we can't fully explain? How do you ensure the integrity of a system that's constantly changing itself? That is the next great challenge for everyone in this field. Thanks for tuning in.